Okay, I think it's preparing.
And we're going.
I can't find my screen anymore.
But we're streaming.
Okay, good.
All right.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a pretty basic letter, but it's good as far as informing somebody that isn't familiar with a local committee. What is a committee member? A committee member represents party voters in their local election district, the smallest unit of political organization. And I just spoke about that, so you have basically what you have is an election district, a state assembly district, you have your counties, and then you have the state. Um, that's basically it in its most fundamental way. It's broken down. It's also broken down by school district sometimes and fire district and this and that. But for the purposes of electing most of our public officials, that's how it's broken out. Okay. So what it is these committee members, it's a party position, not a public office, are elected by party voters in an ED. Generally, they're elected by just signing a designating petition because there's a vacancy and there's usually no challenge to that. Um, Getting the required number of signatures, which is 5% of the registered party voters. So if there's 100 voters, registered Republicans, let's say, for example, you need 5 signatures from the registered Republican voters in that election district. Okay, it's 2-year term typically. I don't think there's any exceptions to that in New York. Um, Usually you volunteer about 3 hours a month, but it varies depending on county. Some counties don't meet very often until it's time to designate candidates for office or to get signatures so candidates can appear on the ballot. What you do have is you have direct influence in the party, and this is the idea. This is what inspired the idea. What often happened is the people that would get on the ballot would pander to voters, and they often still do this, uh, with some innocuous issues and get elected to office. And then when they assume office, they're not as responsive to voters as you would expect. Concerns such as, with national candidates for office, like congressional leaders, um, border, securing our border, um, legislative actions that transfer legislative power to administrative agencies, stuff like this. It's really, as you begin to understand what's going on, you begin to realize most people that run for office answer to the party before they answer to the voters, and it's not supposed to be like that. So taking this position of committee, you get to elect chairpersons, vice chairpersons, treasurers, secretary treasurers, as well as who becomes a potential candidate for office and who does not. So does anybody have any questions regarding that?
I do.
Okay.
Just to bring out some information, and I think I asked you today, the, all these positions, a lot of them are open, but they're not open for people to just walk into right now. Some of them, you can get elected to them, right? Like
In in
you do a petition and you can get elected. Some of them, but you can also, people where there's no election this year, like there's a deadline, so that's why we're doing the kickoff and we're seeing if anybody's interested in doing this in their local community. But even if you're not going to run for office, you could still go down and help. The ones that are running for office, there's a date that they have to do everything by. But if you're not interested in running, you could also get involved and just volunteer, especially like there's a governor's race this year. You could help there, right? Is that
Right,
true?
you can volunteer for a campaign. That's actually a great way to start to get involved because quite often you'll find committee persons and you can start to pick their brains as how they got involved. Um, but there is a time for petitioning this year in most of the upstate counties, right? So that begins February 24th and ends April 6th. Um, and what that is you would petition, and it's desirable to petition in a vacant election district, and we can tell you where the vacancies are located. Um, Because this way you won't, if it's occupied by, let's say, two committee persons, you won't trigger a primary. And we'd rather not, if unnecessarily, ruffle feathers because um, it kind of starts to ingratiate us in the party. And they may not like that you're petitioning, but if there's a vacancy for you to petition, uh, you go right ahead and do it. I say just go ahead and do it. But then also, you have to learn to, become familiar with party members and let them know you want to become involved and you're looking to take a stand and help improve, steer the ship in the right direction. Because if you look at the state of affairs in politics in this state, the ship needs to be corrected as far as I'm concerned. And that's not going to happen without people starting to assume these committee positions and taking an active role in them.
And there's also especially even in my county, I know it's another county. There are people that are trying to oppose us and oppose freedom, and they're going in these seats,
Yeah.
and they're influencing. If you're in those seats, you're influencing what's happening in your backyard. But if you're not in those seats, somebody else is in those seats.
And one of the things that bothered me about when you talk about people that have taken um, some of these legislative seats and even, the mayor's office, these are completely contrary forms of government to a republic. Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution guarantees to each state a Republican form of government. Now we have forms of government that are contrary to that, and that's one of the things that we need to take a serious look at. And they kind of, they'll invoke the Constitution when it's convenient. However, they'll totally ignore it when it's not.
Right, to get into office, people will invoke it.
Yeah, yeah,
But once they're in,
yeah,
you're out.
yeah.
You don't have the
When
same
it's
right.
inconvenient, toss it aside. When it meets their needs, they're perfectly able to, you know, quote it word for word. Yeah,
Um,
Stephen, you have a question? I can't hear you. You got to
I
unmute
just
yourself.
wanted to kind of amplify what you're saying in that,
Uh-huh.
yes, it does, but they're definitely unconstitutional. At least the way I view it, and I agree with you, forms of government, like the Democrat socialists and verging on communism, is definitely not what the founders viewed as a constitutional republic. Self-governed people.
Mhm.
A lot of the left in this state wants more government and expansion of government and increases in regulation and more spending. And I think collectively we sort of push back against that. But even within the Republican Party, we have problems in the state. And
Absolutely. And that's part of what we're talking about with this committee
right,
strategy.
so that's where the precinct strategy comes in, is that it gives us the ability to try to reimagine the Republican Party. And if we fill these billets, with let's call it MAGA type people, America First type people, we can change the Republican Party, and we do this from the ground up. Obviously, as much as we can try and bitch and moan, we can't change it from the top down. So
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
from the bottom up, the grassroots, and this requires engaged people, engaged citizenry.
Can I just
Exactly.
say exactly? And it's not just the Republican Party. Me personally, I'm a nonpartisan person, and everybody is entitled to have their own party. However, I do not believe, and Patrick and I were talking about this, that the communist form of government can at all be part of the American form of government. It's contrary. We have a constitution that protects individuals and our individual rights. Everything is about the individual. We're accountable to God individually. Our morality is individual. Our families are we should be able to do things in the way individually where our conscience leads us. And it's all over the Constitution and the founding documents. Our
Absolutely.
individuality is
We
is the ultimate authority and preeminent, right?
We embrace the frigidity of rugged individualism
Yes,
opposed to the warmth of collectivism.
yeah.
If that,
But the
So,
truth is, you
yeah.
hear that, but collectivism
And
is
individually, we can be generous and help those,
that's it. That's exactly right.
individually, I've had people move in and live with me. Individually, we can do that. I don't want to give it to the government who's very inefficient
And
to do
very
it.
inefficient and gets
Yeah.
robbed from all the time. And quite often, there's more than one hand in the theft, right? And that's why you have grifters and you have all this. And what are they doing? They're living off of taxpayers. And you could go on about this, but
Okay. I'm sorry, Patrick.
no, no, it's a good conversation. I'm actually enjoying it, but um, I don't know. I don't want to get too far out in the weeds, I guess they say. Um, all right. So what do committee members do? And this is a pretty good list here. Help interview and nominate candidates. We do that in Smithtown. Candidates will run for local, town, county, state, federal office. They interview all those candidates, and they're looking for the right candidates. But also, I believe any candidate, any person that believes they're an eligible candidate can come in for an interview. And if they're adamant about running for office, they don't need the endorsement of the party, the party committees. They need the endorsement of the voters. And that's the way it works in New York State. If you get enough endorsements from registered Republicans, you can run in a primary against the candidate that's nominated by the party.
And the same is true for other parties.
Absolutely. This is true across parties. There's four in New York, right? The Republicans, the Democrat Party, Working Families, and Conservative. So you vote for party endorsements. I just kind of spoke about that. Collect petition signatures. You'll do that for a candidate that you think is the best choice. Quite often, the party will nominate one person, but there'll be committeemen that support another candidate that will go out and get signatures for the candidate they choose. Um, Support voter outreach efforts, which I think everybody should do. Attend monthly meetings. Now, meetings vary. Some towns, some counties don't have monthly meetings. Right now, Suffolk County's having probably 2 meetings a month for various reasons, and but Smithtown hasn't had any. So, the meetings will vary. They should be every month, I think, but they're often not. But it depends on where you live too. Assist with local party operations. That could be a number of things. That could be answering phones. It could be putting out lawn signs. It could be a number of different things. Uh, so members help determine who appears on the ballot, and that's true, and how the party functions locally. Why this matters. Many committee seats are vacant. We spoke about that. And this is the way I look at that. So where these vacancies exist, these election districts are completely vacant of any party representation. That means nobody goes to their doors and asks for signatures. That means nobody hears from that committee person. And there's various reasons why people, even in election districts where there are committee persons, don't hear from their committee persons. And I'll go into that on our Monday night meetings. But that's part of this effort is when you have, like in the election district where I'm a committee person, there's 334 registered Republicans. I've spoken to every single one of those people by now. Most of those people know me. If they see me, they'll say hello. They might not remember my name, but they remember my face because over the period of years now, I've spoken to every single one. And there's some new ones there that I might not know, but I've kind of started to build a rapport with these people, and that's the importance. Is it's not only the logistical things of the party. It's also the grassroots also means being involved in with your community and understanding what's important to these people. And you will find there's differences of opinion on a few things, but most people are as concerned about, these things in our government as any of us, these things that are going on.
Can I,
Go ahead.
there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
And Jessica asked this during the meeting. That's why I would like you to answer it.
Okay.
She asked, does Project Civica have a list of all members and what precinct they're in? So basically a list of the committeemen in any particular area so that they could link up with people in the same precinct and unite. And, oh, you're talking about individuals. Okay. She's talking about a list of people I guess, by election district.
We don't have, I mean, we have the lists of, in many of the counties, not all of them, but we have lists of committee persons. Those lists change every 2 years, depending on the county, on an odd year or an even year. What they have is what's called a reorganization. But yeah, we have fairly current lists. If we don't have them, we can get them. As far as people available for committee, that's why we do this. The only thing you have to do is let us know, and you reach out to us, and we'll set you up. We'll point you in the right direction, even if you're uncertain. Like I think this white paper here is actually pretty decent. But that doesn't mean, we're going to give you the white paper and say you're on your own. That's not what we're here for. We're here to help educate and point you in the right direction and assist you in any way we can. So if you're interested in a committee position, we'll tell you most often there's a committee seat right outside your front door. You may have to just talk to the people you already know in your neighborhood, and it's vacant. And you can start to, influence the direction of the party in that town, that county, and this state. So that's all part of this precinct strategy.
Yeah, it's building relationships
100%.
also because you're working, it's people in your community. But I don't know if you're asking this, Jess. Jess lives not too far from me.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know if you're asking this, but are you looking, like some people, what they'll do is they'll get, say, 10 people and, and join the committee in that one assembly district. And then this way they have already have a like-minded set community that are going in. I don't know that we have that many seats because I remember looking at the list of the seats Orange County was last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, last year was the election, so there's none this year. This year is not an election year, but it's a good time to investigate, maybe go even visit and see what they're doing, and even recruit other people. If there are seats that are available, then you could recruit some other people to go in. And we do have some people listed in your area. I don't want to say it on the call, but there are lists. You could see where the vacancies are, and there are people in the area that we could probably connect with, just to see who's available to run.
And that's the thing too. I mean, you just just walk in there and say, I'd like to volunteer and assist with a campaign. I mean, if you're a Republican, it's Bruce Blakeman. You say, I'd like to assist with Bruce Blakeman's campaign. I don't know if there's a town supervisor, running for office or some of these other, local positions. But if there is, say, I'd like to assist with so-and-so's campaign. How can I help? And they'll most likely they'll appreciate that. Or, sometimes they are a little reluctant because they haven't vetted you. Nobody in the committee may know you, and they're reluctant. But you have to be persistent, and you have to say, look, I'm here to help, and I want to help. So that's something you can do, though this year they're not petitioning in Orange County. And Stephen has a comment. So go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you don't even have to go down to an office. You could do it online. All the states have websites, especially for the larger races. Certainly the governor's office, the governor's candidates have a website where if you go on a page, you can volunteer, for a number of different things. You can make phone calls, you can knock on doors, You can do fundraising events. So whatever like suits your talents, you could get involved. And the same for congressional races in your district. And now there's going to be primaries, where you can get involved really early. There's activities that need to be done like right now. So that was my experience, like becoming a committeeman, was that I had no guidance. I had no structure. I wish I had Project Civica and your white paper and resources, but I didn't. And I kind of foundered for a while. And, but I got involved, and I joined the club, and I became friendly with the leader, the executive area leader, in my county committee. And I worked on campaigns, and I got to know candidates. And so there was nothing adversarial about it. It was just sort of like working your way up the chain.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. You want to. It's almost like joining a club, but in a very real sense, you are elected by the voters in that election district, and when you get those signatures on those petitions, if there's nobody else running for that office, you've been elected via this designating petition, okay, to the party position of member of the county committee. So it's important to remember that. And it does behave like a club sometimes, but I don't think it should, because it's a very serious position that puts people up for public office. And quite often, those people get elected. But those people have to remember they answer to the voters, not the party. And the party sometimes has very different, um, uh, you know, uh, things that are contrary to the best interests of voters, is the best way I can put it. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for people that respond to the voters, because if they do, the people are the ones that are supposed to hold these representatives' feet to the fire. And, if they are, conduct their duties poorly, they get turfed out. And the next person that claims to have, the credentials, um, runs for office, and they get elected. And if they do a good job, they remain there. If they don't, the same thing happens. So it's important to remember that it's not supposed to behave like a club, but it often does. And it's a little bit exclusive, and it's not supposed to be exclusive. If you think you have, and it's a simple thing. County committee is pretty simple, but it's actually, you start to realize how close you are, how influential you can be to, the powers that be, because you basically are the powers. And you have to kind of go at it that way. That doesn't mean you have to go in there like a bull in a china shop, but you have to understand, you know, you expect results as a citizen of this country. And if they fail to deliver, they need to be removed. Okay, so why it matters. Okay, we did that already. How to get started, and this is probably where most people have questions. You find your local committee. You can do an internet search, put your town, the name of your county or your town, first, and then Republican or Democrat plus committee. You'll either get access to, or you'll get access to a web page, but through that web page, you'll get access to a phone number or um, an email address, or both. I would, you could call, leave a message. I don't know it depends on the county or the town, how often they staff the office. Um, but if you get a answering machine, you leave a message. I would send an email also. Um, the thing is, like Stephen was just saying, it requires some persistence in a lot of cases. So if it's something that's important to you, and it should um, be persistent. Um, Confirm meeting time and contact information. Find out when they meet, and who you need to contact regarding, committee membership or volunteering. The best way to do it now, if like in Orange County, if or any of the downstate counties, it's say I'd like to volunteer for a campaign and find out, what campaigns are running in your county. Now, statewide, there's the Bruce Blakeman campaign. There's a campaign for Catherine Hochul if you're a Democrat. So, that's what you need to do. You need to find out how you can volunteer or if they're looking for volunteers. And just, reach out and say, I'm interested in getting involved and volunteering. With that said, you can, to volunteer for a campaign, you don't necessarily have to contact your county committee. You can actually go to the website of the candidate themselves and volunteer. And that's not a bad way to get involved either, to be honest with you, because um, you'll find, when they'll have meetings for people that are going to go out and plant lawn signs or get signatures or whatever the case may be, and you'll locate and some county committee persons there that you can start to pick their brains and start to build a relationship with, and letting them know you'd like to be part of the county committee member eventually. Are there any more questions?
Anybody have any experience that they'd like to share about this, about being on a committee? I know a lot of people on this call are committee people.
Hi, Danielle. It's Jessica.
Hi, Jess.
Hi. What I was asking was, do you have a list of Project Civica members and know what district they're in so we could join together? So we have strength in numbers, and with all these people and these constitutional groups in Orange County, like, we should know that what district each person is in so we can go in together and join. Do you have that list so that
Well,
I can
everybody's in a
join?
different election district, the assembly district. So if I'm in Crawford and Pat's in whatever over in Walden and you're in Middletown, somebody's in Newburgh, we're not together anyway. It's all, it's through Orange County. The election district is your polling place. That's like your election district where you go and vote. And that's within your assembly district. You don't have to apply for a committee position or run for a committee position in your election district, that small area, but it has to be within your assembly district. Correct? Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You're a good teacher, Patrick.
So,
But I think what
So is
you're
there-
asking is that if you want to build a smaller group that wants to be, let's say, part of the county committee, you can do that as long as you're in the same county.
Oh, okay, a county group.
Yeah. Is that what you're asking, Jessica?
I'm asking, like, are there people that are in the same assembly district in Project Civica that you guys have a list, or what district we're all in so that we could join together in our assembly district?
It's actually a good question. We could ask. I don't know if we have that list actually. I don't think we do. But that's actually a good point.
I think it's a good idea. Like, all
yeah.
these there's so many constitutional groups, Orange Strong, Faith and Freedom Coalition, Project Civica. And I feel like it would be good to get a list of all those groups locally so that we all can unite. And if we're all in the same assembly district, we can get together and join the committees.
Well, let's see, the committees aren't based by assembly district. They're based by counties, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's county? See, that's
yes,
where it's,
so
that's
there's
where
a
it's a
number.
little confusing. It's like confusing because it's like we don't know where
I
to
think,
begin.
first of all, I just want to say, Patrick, you need to recruit Jessica because she always wants to recruit a lot of people to do
Oh,
that.
that's good. That's
She's
good.
been saying this for a while. Yeah, so she's got a good view of that. Go ahead. I'm only
All right,
teasing.
I just want to clarify something, and then Wilson probably has something good to contribute. But so you can only petition in an election district. If you live in an assembly district, you can only petition in an election district within that assembly district. You don't have to petition in the assembly district where you live, but that's probably the best place to do it if there's a vacancy. With that said, the county committee is the committee. That's where there's a chairman. Every county has a chairman. They are part of the executive committee of the state committee. But I don't want to, go into too many of these details because the idea is when you join a committee in an election district, there's no assembly district committee, there's a county committee. You're part of that county committee, just to make that clear. Does that make
Okay,
sense? Go ahead, Wilson.
sorry,
That's
Patrick.
all right.
Okay, so actually, according to the bylaws,
Uh-huh.
each assembly district has their own committees. You
Oh,
can
they do?
form one.
Okay, is
Yeah, they
that New
do.
York City?
You can. That's at least in Queens County. So
Okay.
that's where I'm at. So
Okay.
but usually that should translate as well to most of the other, counties in New York
Okay.
State. So what ends up happening is you start with the election district, which is the basic your neighborhood, and then you build out to the assembly district, and then the assembly districts form the county committee. So what ends up, so each person will start with their election district, and then you're going to be grouped in by your assembly district first. And then those assembly district, when you go to like vote for reorganization, voting, all vote together as one assembly. And each, so it's how they organize it so that you can go through the roll call very quickly instead of, oh, you're from wherever in this area and that area. You need to, it's the kind of community structure, so it makes it more organized. Everything runs in an organized manner. So, like if you're petitioning, you petition your election district first, which is your basic, your neighborhood. And then you can go out beyond your election district if you're, like petitioning for state committee for the, the district leader's position. Then you would go outside but staying within your assembly district. And then outside of that, then it goes to the county. But that's for the county chairmanship. You don't need to go beyond your assembly district. You're just gathering signatures for
That's a
within
lot
your
of info, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
But that's the thing, and I don't want to, people that are brand new to this, we're talking about the state, the county committees. You start
Okay, so
the
to
very
simplify it, then the county
Yeah.
committee is just your election district. That's your basic neighborhood. And then once you get onto that, then like you moved into the assembly district, which is the bigger part, and then the county committee, which is the largest part. And that's the whole county when you come in for the organization.
and
But
that's what we're gonna talk
like
a little
it,
bit about that on Monday night.
right.
But yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah. So
the idea to just fundamentally get involved right outside your front door or not far from it is petitioning in an election district where you live, in the associated respective assembly district. But don't get lost in that detail because, an assembly district contains a number of election districts, probably 100 or more, many of them. So with that said, there's plenty of places to petition that have vacancies, and then you'll become part of the county committee. From there, if you want to, becoming part of the state committee is involved with petitioning in an assembly district. We're not going to touch that right now. We're just looking to get people involved right outside their front door in their neighborhoods.
All right.
So,
No, I agree.
Very
So
good.
that's one of the things I was gonna say about the why it matters. Like I know you put in there's vacancies, but really why it matters is if you want a thriving uh, political party, regardless of whether you're Republican, Democrat, whatever, you need those seats filled because that's how okay, you get to know each other within your assembly district, and that helps to generate more energy, keeps you encouraged, keeps you empowered, and so basically makes you feel like, okay, we're going to make a difference. And because if you don't feel like you're making a difference, you could be sitting as a county committee and you're like, twisting in the wind. So then with you, because you don't know who's around you, but you want to have that, like be able to have that energy for people to come together. And so
absolutely.
knowing, okay, this person cares enough that they got on county committee and they did it, like the way where they went out and knocked on the doors. So it really, so that helps encourage you to say, okay, and we're going to have these discussions. We can sit down and have a discussion about a lot of issues. And we know that as party members, you're not going to go and start beating each other over the head. You're going to say, you know what? We have a common goal. We want to be able to do this stuff to get, get certain things done. And so that's why it matters to be a county committee members It's not, it's not just the vacant seats, or they're just trying to fill them. We want people to actively be
Actually
engaged in the
be engaged, and
process, you know?
that's the whole reason. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
then
put the, I
you,
put the document for you, Patrick, in the chat for everyone if they want to take
okay.
it. It's a Google document. It's a link.
All right. And then, just to finish that up too, Wilson brought up a good point. You want an energetic party, but you also want an energetic country. And the one thing I always say is for 100 years, Americans became very complacent, and it was more of a hands-off thing. We elect a person and you kind of forget about it. That's never the way this republic was designed. You know, self-government, when you think of self-government or government by consent, there's no way you get away with doing that by delegating it to somebody else. You have to do some of the task yourself. And that's what the committee position does. It's not only representing a party, although it's a party position, it's also representing yourself and your that small little neighborhood of yours to the party, so we get the right people in office that make the right choices to don't compromise, the virtues of Republican government as far as I'm concerned, and don't um, they do the right thing. And if they don't, we need to hold them accountable and turf them out. Um, and then, the next person who, if the person is doing their job, I'm all for continuing to elect the person that does the right thing, but not continuing to elect people that answer to a much smaller group of political elites at the expense of the people that pay the bills in this country. So I'm going to finish up on that, and I'll see. I think Kim's here, right?
Yeah, Kim's here. Yep. And I'm going to take a poll. So we have 20 people, I think, or so on here. Thank you, Patrick, very much. So we're talking about getting involved in your local committee, which is a great thing. Has anybody actually called Schumer and Gillibrand's office or emailed them? If you haven't, you might be one of the many people that are a little bit nervous to do it. And there's a few things that you can do that'll help you. First of all, an email is very easy to send. Send an email to Senator Gillibrand and Senator Schumer and tell them that you would like to have the Save America Act passed because you want voter ID, you want to secure our elections, you want to make sure only citizens can vote. And those are laws that are already on the book. We're just asking for them to prevent people from cheating or for non-compliance of the law that's already on the books. We're not asking for more laws. This is already the law. So, and it would do things to help in New York, especially in New York, at the polls, so that the voter rolls will have to be maintained. Now, of course, New York is going to be a problem, but we want the Save America Act passed for our state and for the rest of the country. We need to have stronger election laws. So if you have not called, I'm going to encourage you to please make that phone call. If you don't, the email is easy and the phone call is probably a little bit more difficult, but even if you call them or you visit their local offices, usually the staff are very friendly. So just commit to doing that. We really want to get this pushed across the board. There's a big problem, resistance, and there's challenges. So we want to have our voices heard. Hi, Kim.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm in the car driving home from a Lincoln dinner where the Erie County in Western New York honored David DiPietro with
good.
the Lincoln Award. Yeah, he definitely stands for his constituents and for grassroots and for conservative values. So he deserved it very much so. So I pulled over into a parking lot so I could talk. So I don't think I'm because I wasn't sure I was unmuted properly. It was hard to tell in here, but I want to say that it's actually not scary to call. So I'm one of those people where, and you probably won't believe this, but I really am not a person who likes to like put myself out there. You know, I'm doing a lot of it now, and it doesn't necessarily come natural to me to do that. But, you know, there's a picture of me when I was a little kid where I literally am like hiding behind my mom's legs meeting somebody new. So it makes me uncomfortable too. But I have found that it's super easy to make these calls because you're not going to talk to the senator or
Right.
your congressman. You know, I mean, if he answers the phone, count your blessings and start asking questions. Right? Seriously, you're going to get the staff person who's responsible for answering the phone calls, at least in that minute. I don't know if it's always the administrative assistant or who it would be, but you'll get a staff person, and their job is basically just to keep track of the number of calls that they're getting on an issue if you're calling about an issue. So they're going to ask you your name, they're going to ask you maybe where you live, and you're just going to tell them how you stand, and pretty much that's it. They're like, okay, you know, we'll let the senator or the congressman know, or your legislator, assemblyman, or state senator know how you feel. And that they like kind of mark it down. You'll probably get stuck on a mailing list because that's what happened to me. So it really is the least scariest thing you can possibly imagine doing. They don't ask you questions about the bill. They don't, you know, but you know, we've tried to prepare people just in case somebody says, you know, like, what bill is that or something, so you could at least explain it. But it isn't confrontation at all. Everybody definitely deals with it very professionally. I mean, they're used to constituents calling them, and you know, that they, at least in my experience, I have not been treated rudely, whether I called a Democrat or whether I called a Republican. You know, if anything, the one thing I've noticed is I tend to get the answering machine more for a Democrat than a Republican, but that'd be the biggest thing I've noticed. So it's not that hard to do. So I am encouraging everybody to call Gillibrand and Schumer. And I know they don't agree with the SAVE Act. I know what Schumer's saying, but that doesn't mean that we don't let them know how we feel. And that's part of the problem, I think, personally, is that, you know, we let them get away with it. You don't have to be nasty to them. Let them know how their constituents feel. And will they change their mind? Probably not. But at least they should know how everybody feels about it. And it doesn't take long to make that phone call. And then while you're at it, then there's a couple of other senators that we're trying to reach out to in Washington over the Save America Act. Fetterman is one in Pennsylvania. He appears to probably support it, but we'll see what happens. We need to keep pressure up on him. Collins in Maine is another one we're trying to reach out to. I heard today that Senator Thune was supporting it, but you know, those are the phone calls that would really make a difference, and that is going to make a difference for New York if we can get the Save America Act passed, because Save America Act is citizenship. So when you register to vote, you will have to prove you're a citizen of the United States. It's not when you go to the poll to vote. Okay, that's like, I've seen it all over social media. It's a big Democrat talking point that you're going to have to bring like 15 pieces of ID to vote. No, when you go to vote, you're just going to have to show picture ID, your license. You know, if you don't have a picture ID license, you might have to bring other documentation, but it's just identity proof at the polls when you vote. And then registering to vote would require proof of citizenship. If you're already registered, and most people who want to vote are probably already registered, you're not going to have to do anything except show voter ID when you register. And then another part of the Save America Act is they want to take the voter rolls and require the states to send the voter rolls to the SAVE system. And I know that gets so confusing, right? But it's not like the Save America Act, which is legislation. This is a system through the immigration services. Okay, and what this is an eligibility system. So it's not even just Board of Elections. Any government agency at the state level, at the local level, can sign a memorandum of understanding for free. It doesn't cost you anything. You can send people who you're wondering if they're eligible. So that would be, are they alive? Are they a citizen? That kind of information. You can send it through the SAFE system. They don't make the determination. They just send you back your list and say, this person is a citizen, this person is not. If you're not a citizen, then the local boards of elections would have to send out information to you and say, hey, you turned up as not a citizen. You know, you need to bring us documentation so we can figure this out. So there is a due process as part of it.
Doesn't it also go through the national change of address? For eligibility, don't they have to live within, they have a residence also?
Yeah, so the residency is part of the requirement to vote in any state. I don't know if the SAFE system has hooked up with the Postal Service, the National Change of Address yet, but the intention is for the SAFE system to be hooked up to 17 different government databases. I know we probably all thought they were to begin with, but they weren't, and it used to cost states to do it. But they're slowly adding them on one by one. And it's my understanding that currently right now, obviously immigration, Social Security Administration, the Death Master database for dead people, and there's a few others that they're hooked up to right now. So that's the start of it. So that's basically the nitty gritty. How it helps New York is a couple of things. So this is for federal elections. But remember, New York State just decided to switch a lot of their local elections to the election year where they're doing the federal elections to boost turnout, right? So this is going to be super interesting because there's a ton more elections now on federal years. And if you're required to show ID for a federal election, it means you're going to be showing an ID for a lot of other elections. We'll see how the states figure this out, right? Because technically, locally, they're not going to be required to. Except the other interesting little feature is many states have taken the National Voter Registration Act, which is federal legislation on elections, Help America Vote Act, another federal legislation, and taken those bills and those requirements and put them or encapsulated them into state election law. It is that way in New York. Not all of it, but most of it is encapsulated. So if they do amend the National Voter Registration Act, which is how they're phrasing this for the Save America Act that they want to pass, the states may be required to follow it for many of their local elections. So that'll be an interesting, like to see how that plays out. But it definitely helps us in New York, even though we have a legislature that appears to be totally against voter ID or proving you're a citizen.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I think Roy has a question or a comment.
Yeah, I got a comment. One of the things I found is helpful when I call the representatives is to end up talking to the staff members is to have what do you call a one pager? It's a informational sheet that explains what you're calling about. Okay. And what's good about that is what I do is I ask them, do you mind if I send you a one pager on this, whatever I'm talking about? And usually it's absolutely yes every time I mention it to them. And that way you get an email address for the staff member. And then you send him the one pager. Okay. And there's a good chance that they will, if they know nothing about the bill, now they will know something about it because you're sending it to the staff member who does all the work, really. So I just wanted to add that comment. That's been
very good.
helpful.
Kim and I, when we went to Albany, we had position papers that we were able to hand out to the volunteers that were going to speak to their legislators, and we were handing them out also. And I'm looking for them right now. I did not speak about Albany at all, Kim. Are you still there? I guess we lost Kim. Okay, so we were in Albany and it was really great. We ended up meeting with legislators, and are you there?
I am here. I just had to unmute, and I started driving again because there was a bunch of cop cars that came by, and I thought, oh, they're going to wonder why I'm like sitting here on the side of the road. But anyways, so I muted, but now I'm unmuted again. Anyways, yeah.
So
Go ahead.
you can,
Sorry.
you can talk about Albany. I'm going to look for the document so I can put it in the chat.
Okay, so we have position papers. I know we have a position paper and information about the SAVE Act. I know we just did something about the Save America Act, and there's actually even more legislation called Make Elections Great Again, which
Mega.
even goes deeper. Mega, right? Yeah. So we have a document about that, and our intention is to send that out in the newsletter coming up this week.
Yeah.
So it can help people understand, because I was confused, and I follow it, right? So it was confusing as to what was in what. But anyway, so we have those position papers, and I love that idea, Roy, of asking for an email to send it in, because not only that, now you've got an email to send more stuff to down the road when you want to send stuff. So I think that's a great idea. But anyways, Albany. So we went to Albany last week. We got there. One of the fun things about Albany is parking. You've got to get there really early to get the underground parking, and if you don't, then you end up parking on the street. So we got lucky and found parking on the street. We were in pretty early, had our first meeting, at least I did, at 9 a.m. with Mark Walczyk, who is the senator, and he's the ranking minority leader for the election committee in the Senate. And it went very well. We had numerous other meetings with both Republicans and Democrats. Everybody was very cordial to us and listened. We had some good discussions. And overall, I thought it was a great visit, or great trip. I know we met with like 8 or 9 different people, Danielle?
Yeah, and we met with council also.
Yes.
And we were able to present the findings. And I have to tell you, Kim and I both noticed what a difference from a couple of years ago. They were asking us to send them whatever we had. It was very, very, it was really good to see the council was interested in election integrity. It was very interesting. And can I gossip? I'm
Yes.
going to gossip on a live stream on YouTube. So we also heard that even the Democratic legislators are having trouble getting their moderate bills through. So it's a little bit, they're not too happy with the new ultra left coming in either. And they're being, pressured to stay in line. So I think that while it's dysfunctional, it's a kind of, there's more of a majority now that's having a problem than the majority that's, I guess in control. So I think that's a good sign also for moderate Democrats, actually, also. So, and they were.
I was going to say, I agree with what you said. I was in Albany a couple of years ago with another organization, and they literally wanted us, almost throw us out of their offices. Like, you couldn't talk about election integrity at all. And both sides of the aisle at this point in time, Danielle is right. They wanted us to send the report. They were interested in the results. They were interested why. They were interested why we supported certain legislation. It was very much a different atmosphere over election integrity. And there are some bills that we went to support. The big one we were there to support was Viva New York, which is a bill that keeps hand-marked paper ballots. And that's a progressive, I don't know if it's progressive, but definitely a Democrat bill. It's bicameral. There's support. There's a bill of the same exact language in both the Assembly and the Senate. And so that was the big bill we were there to support. And there was some other legislation that we definitely supported. The Republicans have several bills that they've put forth for voter ID, for citizenship. They just face almost an untenable situation in Albany where nothing gets passed and they're literally limiting their ability to speak. And then the other real interesting thing that happened is we had the opportunity to go onto the assembly floor, which basically means you get to go in the secret door, if you will, or this back of the door and sit in some chairs kind of behind the legislature right on the floor instead of the viewing gallery. And then they announced us and welcomed us. We had our names announced, which is kind of fun. But what was super interesting was the number of empty seats. There literally was very few Democrats there. Pretty much all, I believe, the Republicans were there because you need to be present to vote no on a bill. But if you want to vote yes on a bill, and it's not your bill that's being considered that you would have to get up and answer questions, you literally can swipe in, punch in, and leave. And your vote automatically gets registered as a yes, even though you're not there. So that was, $142,000 we're paying these legislators, and they're not even present.
I'm showing the picture. Hold on. So you could see here, these are all the seats where, can you see my screen? Can you see the screen, guys? Somebody? I don't see anybody nodding their head.
Yes, I see
it. Okay, so these are the seats where the Democrats sit, and the bills, the Republicans or whoever, maybe some Democrats are there, will they'll talk about it, challenge something, and they'll debate things. But when it comes up for a vote, you see up on this back screen, you'll see all the Ys. It automatically votes yes for all these empty seats. And so the bills pass without anybody actually having to be there and answer any questions or do anything. It's like an automatic yes for everything.
And not only that, one of the bills that was up for discussion when we were there was modifications to the MAID Act. And the MAID legislation is the assisted suicide bill, if you remember that. So this is a controversial bill. And yeah, they weren't there even for that.
Yeah. They didn't want to be there.
But overall, I thought it was, go ahead, sorry.
No, I thought Patrick had his hand up before. I just didn't I wanted to ask what he.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Kim.
What I was just going to say, it was very good, and I hope everybody gets the chance to do it sometime. Even if it's just, for the experience of meeting with legislators and then actually seeing what it's like. The elevators are so interesting because there are other groups lobbying as well when you're there. So everybody's going from appointment to appointment. There'll be a group of people. We were in pairs, we had twos, but some of the other groups were 3, 4, 5 people, and they'd all go together to their appointments, and everybody jams in on the elevator, goes up 2 floors or down 2 floors, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then we bumped into several legislators because they were on their way to different meetings or back and forth in the elevator. So the elevator is really the place to be, I guess.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting seeing what was happening. And also we would like to go to DC sometime in the future also. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that opportunity may happen. There's some legislation that we're involved helping, it's a whole group of states that are working on legislation on transparency, which be like what you could get as a citizen, freedom of information law stuff. With it's Abe Hamadeh, of the guy from Arizona. Some of you guys may recognize that name. Him and a couple of other Congress people. So there's legislation in the works on what citizens can see, because right now different states have different rules. And so the idea is to try to clarify what everybody can see, so that, because you can change, we can change everything all we want, but if there isn't any follow through, if you're asking states to get their voter rolls cleaned up through the SAVE system, but there's no oversight into what's actually truly happening. What good is it? So that's the other piece of this, is to make sure that there's the ability for citizens to see as much as they can, so that we can, so we're not running into this ever again.
Let me just clarify this. Before I was talking about there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. So there are groups that are writing legislation for Congress to make sure that our elections are secure. And those groups, several of them, are using state grassroots organizations like ours to give them on the ground the problems that we're seeing, what the issues that we're facing. So we've been sending reports, and there's a lot of collaboration with that. And then this other group is working with the grassroots, trying to find out ways, giving us writing legislation so we can actually oversee the changes. And the same thing, and then even in Albany, we were talking to council and legislators, and we're grassroots walking in, and we were welcomed, and our opinions and our papers were welcome. So it is there is a shift in responses. There are avenues. If you're interested in being part of this, there are national meetings, there are things going on all over the place that New York has a voice in the national effort. So I just wanted to clarify, because I mentioned that before, but I didn't give a lot of details. And I tend to be overview, like I wash out the details, and Kim brings out the details. So I just wanted to clarify that for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's more. Yeah, there's more, but I don't want to talk about it all, and some of it I got to wait till a couple of things happen. So, but there's definitely good things happening behind the scenes. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why we're encouraging everyone to, get involved, and there's going to be things coming back. And open your newsletters. If anybody's not getting your newsletter, please look for it. Please contact me, check your spam. Our spam count went way, I don't know what happened to our email. We had like 6 months of having a really bad time getting our emails out and to people. And then our responses, I was sending emails out that were going in my spam. So that's how it was. So, so please, if you can even just open it, there's a lot of good information in there, but we're going to be sending out, we send out good information that is very useful, and you'll know what's going on in New York. And if you have submissions or things that you think are relevant, please bring it to us, send it to our info at Project Civica, or put it on text it to us on our phone number. We'll see it. We're busy, but we'll definitely see it. So thank you. And yeah, so it's 10 to 9. Are there any questions? Kim, is there anything else you think we have to touch base on?
No, I think we want.
Patrick's meeting is Monday night, more detailed on how to get started with precinct strategy. If you have friends, Jessica, people also, join. It's a good time to start getting your feet wet. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I was listening when you guys were talking about precinct strategy, and Greg Soika's group from up here in Lancaster in Western New York, he got a group of people he knew, friends, I guess, acquaintances, and they did all work together to join the Lancaster committee. So I think at least in Erie County, and it may be in your area too as well, it kind of works in townships more. So, you represent your election district, and then the committee you're joining is a town committee. So like the town of Clarence, the town of Lancaster, and then the next level up is the county committee. So at least, I know like every county is a little different, but I suspect a lot of the upstate counties are set up that way. Basically election district to town, and then town to the county. So when you're representing your election district, the level you would go to would be your local town, at least in Erie County, the way I understand it. So I just wanted to say that. And then, if you had friends in your town, then a bunch of you could all, you know, attempt to join together. And, you know, so that idea has been used in a number of places that I've heard of, to kind of a bunch go in at once, and then, you know, eventually you've got to use strategy, you know, but you can make a difference that way.
Yep. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, we have some people, Jessica, I'll talk to you about it outside. I have a couple of connections you might, it might be interesting. We can get together.
All right. I think we're pretty much good, right?
Yeah, yes. Yes, it is.
So,
Bye, YouTube. You want to cut the live stream? How do we do that?
I can't do it. I'm in the car driving.
Okay. How do I do
I
it?
could do it. I could do it. Hold on a
Okay,
second.
thank you.
I'll let you know when.
Thanks.
I just
I
stepped
think you
away
got
from
to
my.
go into live stream and then end it.
Yeah, you uncheck that button, but I could do it on my side from
Thank
Livestream.
you very much.
All right.
Okay, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good
Have
night.
a good
and
night. Thank you.
Good night,
And
everyone.
if you're good with spreadsheets, we have initiatives on research too on Monday nights, 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, thank you. Good night. This was great. Have a great
Oh,
night.
good. I'm glad you joined.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Ann. Hi, Janice.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
It's like the Waltons.
I know. Thank you, Stephen. You're such a blessing.
Hey, wait a minute. I gotta stop this.
I'm going to stop the recording.
It's still streaming though. Hold on.